You are standing in a marketplace roughly 5,000 years ago in Mesopotamia. You have nothing in your pockets, no coins, no cash, no cards, and yet you are about to walk away with a sack of grain, and the person handing it to you is not worried, not for a second, that you won't pay them back. Why? Because they don't need your money. They just need to remember what you owe them. That single arrangement, a debt held in someone's memory instead of a coin in someone's hand, is one of the most consequential inventions in the entire history of human civilization. And it happened before money, as you understand it, existed at all. So, how did we get from a neighbor's memory to a tap on a card reader? The answer stretches across 5,000 years, 4 continents, and at least 5 completely different technologies, and it begins with a story you were probably taught wrong. Let's start with what you learned in school, because it's the first thing we need to tear down. 2 chickens for a goat, a sack of grain for a pair of shoes. Simple barter, the story goes, came before money. Anthropologist David Graeber spent years combing through the historical record looking for a single society that actually ran its economy this way. He never found one. Not one. The real starting point wasn't an object changing hands. It was a debt, tracked in someone's head. And we have proof. Mesopotamian clay tablets, some over 5,000 years old, record exact amounts of grain and silver owed between named people. Obligation came first. Objects came later. So why would anyone bother inventing an object at all? Because memory has a fatal flaw. It only works between people who already trust each other. You cannot carry a neighbor's memory across a mountain range. You cannot hand a stranger your reputation. And for trade to grow beyond the village, that problem had to be solved. Objects said yes. Communities started picking physical things everyone already agreed had worth: grain and cattle in Neolithic settlements, savings you could literally eat, small uniform cowrie shells, used in China 3,000 years ago and still functioning as money in parts of West Africa well into the 20th century, 2 civilizations with zero contact, arriving at the exact same answer. In Rome, it was salt, valuable enough that soldiers were partly paid in it. That is where the word salary comes from. But shells and salt had their own fatal flaw. You cannot split a cow in half. A shell is a shell. Take it or leave it. Nothing about it was measurable. So by 3000 BC, cultures from Mesopotamia to Egypt started casting metal into ingots and rings, cut to consistent, checkable weights. For the first time, money could be measured instead of just agreed upon. And then, around 600 BC, in the kingdom of Lydia, in what is now Western Turkey, craftsmen did something that changed everything. They stamped standardized lumps of gold-silver alloy with an official mark guaranteeing weight and purity. That stamp was the entire invention. Not the metal, the guarantee. You no longer had to trust the stranger standing in front of you. You just had to trust the mark. This is where coinage becomes something bigger than money. Athens stamped its silver with an owl, and those coins circulated across the entire Mediterranean, accepted far outside Athenian territory because everyone recognized the symbol. Centuries later, Rome standardized the denarius across an empire spanning 3 continents. A soldier in Britain and a merchant in Syria could hold the exact same coin and both know exactly what it was worth. Coinage did something no object ever had before. It moved value between total strangers. But coins had their own dependency, and it was a brutal one. Wait. Try hauling enough copper cash to buy a warehouse of silk, and you'll understand the problem instantly. Around the 800s AD, Tang dynasty merchants started depositing coin with agents in one city and carrying paper certificates to redeem it in another, an early credit note. 3 centuries later, the Song government formalized it into jiaozi, printed and backed by the state around 1000 AD, the world's first true government-issued paper money. The object stopped mattering. The promise took over. That promise multiplied fast. European banks issued notes redeemable for gold on demand. By the 20th century, most of what people called money wasn't metal at all. It was a number in a ledger, a promise a bank made and a government stood behind. Credit did to coins exactly what paper had done to metal centuries earlier. It made money lighter again, and then even the paper became optional. Your paycheck today probably never touches a printed bill. It is a figure adjusted in a database, verified by institutions you will never meet, moved between banks in seconds. The ledger just moved from ink to server. Here's the part almost nobody tells you. On the island of Yap in Micronesia, people used enormous limestone discs, some over 12 feet wide, as currency. They were too heavy to move. Many of them never moved at all. Some sitting at the bottom of the ocean after a shipwreck still counted as someone's wealth. Ownership changed by agreement alone, remembered by the whole community. Nobody ever touched the stone. Everyone just agreed who owned it. That is not a strange island custom. That is the entire system, exposed. A coin, a banknote, a number on a server, every form money has ever taken is just a more portable version of that stone. A shared agreement about who owns what, wrapped in whatever material people trusted most at the time. Which is exactly what Bitcoin is betting on. Introduced in 2009, it replaced the trusted institution, the bank, the mint, the government, with a public ledger anyone can verify. It isn't a return to barter. It isn't even new. It's the oldest idea in this entire story, running on new hardware. You tapped your card again this morning without thinking about any of it. Somewhere underneath that tap is a 5,000-year argument about who gets to be trusted, a village, a king, a bank, a network, all solving the exact same problem your ancestors solved with nothing but memory and each other's word. The technology changed 9 times over. The agreement never did.